I caught my wife cheating with her coworker. I am 29, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, F28, for over 4 years now. We've known each other for 4.5 years, and we've been living together for over 2 years. She was more serious about our relationship before I was, and her timeline to get married was earlier than mine, but she accommodated and agreed to move in together before we got too serious about that. Now, for years on, after going through COVID, multiple givings, smaces, etc. spent with each other families, I was confident that she was the right one for me and have been planning to propose in the near future. Which she is aware of. We've both been fully committed to the relationship, and she had never done anything for me to question her faithfulness/loyalty over the course of our relationship. Now, a little over a month ago, she went to an NBA game with 2 colleagues, corporate floor seats, very nice. She got very drunk, unlike her, and appears to have had a great time. She ended up going to one of her colleagues' apartments, let's call him Luke, which is in UWS, let's say. Single guy, same age. She got home very late, around 2 a.m. At the time, I had no reason to really question it because they were out at a company thing, linked up with his roommates and hung out/had a good time afterward, which is fine, but I had to mentally flag it because it was unusual for her to do that. She's usually an early drinks/home by 9 p.m. kinda girl, if she is out. The same thing happened 2 weeks after that, this time a different colleague, F, but in the same neighborhood, and they were out a bit late and hung out at her colleagues. I noted her location on iPhone Find My Friends, and it was UWS. I screenshot the location. Here I got a bit suspicious, and I gave her a call around 1 a.m. asking where she was. She picks up the third time and asked why I was asking, said I was being controlled, etc., and then gave me the details of what happened, which sounded a bit too convenient, so I questioned it extensively without being overly accusatory. I didn't push too much and gave her the benefit of the doubt, given that I thought she would be capable of doing something like that. Our resolution is that she tells me she won't be out that late again, since it's not great safety-wise as well. Come last night, I'm in LA traveling for work. The first day I'm not home, we're both busy work, but check in on each other over text. I don't hear from her in the evening. It's a bit late at 12:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at this point, and I text to no response for 15 minutes. I assume she's sleeping and I check her location to find my friends. She's not home, she's in the UWS. I check my screenshot of the location from the last time and find that it's the same place from when she said she was with her female colleague. I call her. She picks up the third call. I ask if she is home. She doesn't say, she just says she's a little drunk after being out with colleagues, but makes it sound like she's either on her way or home already without saying those words. I pretend that a friend of mine saw her with someone in the UWS, and I was calling her to ask what she was doing. Now she says that she's in the UWS, and at Luke's apartment again. Now I tell her how sketchy that sounds, the fact that, 1, she didn't pick up her phone or respond to texts immediately, 2, I'm out of town and she's not home and didn't care to tell me she would be out, 3, it's at the same location as her female colleagues, but now it's Luke's app all of a sudden. We're on the phone until 2 a.m. I don't bring up the inconsistency with the second colleague's apartment cause I'm still using the "my friend saw you" excuse for calling. She says that she's not doing anything and just hanging out after drinks with colleagues. But it's just them two, well, duck that. Anyways, it's beyond a doubt in my mind that this is very suspicious behavior, and I'm questioning everything at this point. To compound things, our sex life hasn't been great lately, but we have a very strong partnership and love each other, which I don't doubt. I won't stand for any betrayal of trust, and I'm thinking about stalling, if not ending, my plans to propose. It complicates matters that we live together. Obviously, I'll talk to her more when I'm home before all that, but tell me what you would think to do if you were in my shoes. Thanks. Update: I confronted her about it today. There was little doubt in my mind that something transpired, and my suspicions were confirmed. After hours of talking and her crying and pleading, she finally admitted to the fact that she slept with this guy twice. I really cared for this girl, and I never thought things would turn out this way. There were truly no signs of infidelity or shady behavior whatsoever in our time together. But none of that matters since I can no longer trust her. Anyways, I've called everything off and I've told her that we are breaking up. Thanks to all the commenters for clearing things up for me. I just kept grilling her about it until the truth came out, and a lot of the posts here made me see that's what I needed to do. I don't think there's a way back for me. She betrayed my trust, and it's just heartbreaking. Duck. What now? It's going to be a long process to get over it. 4 years of my life. This girl. Any advice is appreciated. Update. My now ex-GF, F28, cheated on me, M29, with her colleague. I just found this out a few hours ago. Full story is in S/relationship advice, and I'll link to it when I figure out how. Basically, we had dated for over 4 years, lived together for more than 2 years, and I was thinking of proposing to her this year. I had known her to be a good person, well-intentioned and very family-oriented. First signs of sketchy behavior were this year after a work event which I had then caught on to that seemingly turned into a fling. One of her colleagues, who knew she had a BFBTW, I'm her phone background. I confronted her about a late night out today, and she eventually confessed after we talked for hours. I feel betrayed, disgusted, and just don't understand why she would do that to our relationship that I had known to be rock solid. I told her I had to end it, and that she will need to move out. She's going to her parents this weekend, and I will be home. I had broken up after a 2-year relationship previously when I was younger, and had started going out/dating immediately. I never dealt with the emotions of that breakup, and I know that's not what I should be doing now. But what are the next steps here? How do I find closure? I don't think I'll ever trust her again, but I love her, and I don't want to fully close the door on us working out at some point in the future, but I don't even know how to begin thinking about that. PLS needs some advice. Update. So, here is the complete truth from my side. I haven't been a loyal partner myself. She doesn't know anything that I know of, and I don't know if she ever suspected. It all started after COVID. We had moved in together in February 2020. We both had very busy finance jobs at the same firm but different divisions. COVID happened. We went from seeing each other very little during the week to being around each other every day. Initially things were smooth, but over time her work got more and more hectic. She would routinely do nights past 2 a.m., all WFH. She stopped caring about certain things, including her appearance. Our apartment got messy. I was the one who cleaned and complained. Her excuse was always that she was busy. Which is understandable, but makes you view your partner differently. I stayed active, still trying exercising every other day. She was lethargic, didn't want to leave the house. My attraction to her faded, even though I didn't say anything. She probably sensed it. To complicate matters further, we weren't having sex like we used to. Libido declined. I was touching myself every day. She had this UTI problem when we used to have sex. Initially it wasn't regular, but later on the pain got so bad that she would go to the ER sometimes. That didn't help matters. My mental image of sex with her was not a good one. So our closeness came down massively to maybe once a month, if that, and that's when I started cheating. I hadn't cheated, not thought that I was even capable of cheating prior to this with her, or any of my previous relationships. At some point, I got tired of this relationship. I wasn't happy with her and what her work plus COVID had turned her into. Instead of dealing with it like a mature adult and having a conversation or breaking up, I made a bad decision. I'm a good-looking guy, 6 feet 1 inch, relatively fit, nice upper body. I was a late bloomer and got the most female attention in my early mid-20s. I never craved female attention before, and by the time we started dating, I was through with that life and fully committed. But now I wanted to see what else was out there. Out of sheer frustration, my GF. This was meant to be purely physical, nothing more. It was winter of 2021. It wasn't hard to meet someone cause we live in a big city. I got on a dating app and used a different name. It felt very wrong after I did it the first time. I said I wouldn't do it again, but I did it different times, months apart, with different people. Maybe 4 to 5 total. I know, I'm a horrible person. This whole time I thought I still loved and cared for my GF at home. But getting some on the side was helping me stay sane in our relationship until things got back on track. Fast forward to 2022, I had stopped cheating. Our love life hasn't improved. We've had fights, most initiated by her about the lack of sex. My reasons were the UTI, lubrication, that we were not getting aroused at the same time as each other, etc., but my love for her had only grown over this period. She had started a new job with a new team last summer. She was amazing at it. Better hours. Better people. And she was feeling better about herself. Our relationship was also in a better spot, at least I thought. We were seriously considering marriage. I had been the holdout in the past. And she felt closer to me than ever. Our date nights were fun, and I felt like we were real partners in life. Which is why my cheating stopped too. We were starting to have fewer disagreements, and not so much about sex anymore. Little did I know, she was getting some on the side with one of her new colleagues, twice, started in February if she is to be believed. Last thing I would have expected from her given her character, especially at this stage in our relationship. If I hadn't caught her, this would have probably carried on. What do you think? Was it doomed from the start, i.e., when both of us, more so me, failed to act on the sex issues and the attraction issues? Well, she ducked up massively. I don't think I can ever trust her again, and I don't want to live my life knowing that my significant other is capable of cheating. But reflecting back, I also know that it could have easily been the other way around. That doesn't make a difference now. I still don't know her reason for cheating, and I've blocked her off completely. But I think I've taken a lesson from this experience. Sex is critical to making a relationship work, and so is physical attraction. Even if everything else might seem perfect. What do you think? Edit, rereading this, I see how much of a selfish douchebag I sound like. I'm wrong. The lesson here is cheating shows a complete disregard and lack of respect for your significant other. It's not a solution to turn to when things get rocky. This is the worst thing to ever happen to me. I'm trying to tell myself that my wrongs don't make me deserve this. But I'm struggling. I understand if you demonize me and don't have any sympathy for me, but I'm still a person who wants to come through this experience okay, same as everyone else. More pain and more posts likely to come over the next few weeks. My wife convinced me we should open our relationship. I, 40M, left my wife Z, 37F, in November. In March, she convinced me we should open our relationship after 3 years of her sleeping on the couch and shutting me out physically. She said she thought she was probably asexual and wasn't interested in sex at all anymore. Opening the relationship was to be for me. She told me she had already approached a mutual female acquaintance A for a three-way fun, and that A had responded with interest. I was like, okay. I wanted 3 rules though. We agreed that we could each veto bad partner decisions, that we would use protection, and that we would be transparent about all actions. About a month later, Z asked me to take the kids to my parents' place out of town for a weekend so she could have a friend from work over for drinks and a movie. I was like, oh, I thought we were working on that thing with I don't know what you're talking about. I barely know her. She had me convinced at this time that I needed antipsychotics, against my DR's advice, and that I was schizophrenic, and that I couldn't trust my memory. At this time I reached out to A on FB, and she confirmed that she had not heard from Z at all. I confronted her and she claimed that we hadn't talked about it at all, and that what she was up to was none of my business. When I came home from visiting my folks, the living room smelled like sex, like they had a marathon session on the couch, and didn't do anything to cover it. I checked my outdoor security cams and overheard them having a smoke break. I didn't want to listen, but couldn't help myself, and I overheard her talking about how things would be different if I wasn't in the picture, then watched them do stuff outside our house on the porch after midnight, in full view of the neighbors' windows. I thought you were asexual now. I never said that. Maybe you need more meds. Over the next few months, I took the kids away every weekend and watched them 2 to 3 times a week so she could go on dates. Our date nights became worse and worse. She began to have sex with me once a week around this time, but still wouldn't sleep next to me. The next week she sought out and found a FetLife date who beat her, at her request, black and blue. So bad that she took a week off of work and didn't leave the couch. I was devastated. I realized we were in trouble and found a couples therapist. Z refused to see her because T is black. I had made sure that T was capable of helping me deal with my stuff independently before looking her up, and began to do regular therapy with her when Z stepped out on us. Over the next few months, I tried really hard to be okay with the open relationship despite not being able to find anyone interested in what I had to offer. Z suggested it was because I was too old, fat, and gross. I met and made friends with her regular partners, hoping to gain more insight into her needs and how I wasn't meeting them. I found out around this time that she was not using protection with any of her partners, and there were about 6 or 7 other guys by this point by my estimation. The only people I ever participated in the open relationship was 2 of the guys Z was regularly hooking up with. Z made me feel guilty for every single step I took in our open relationship, so I began to hide these interactions from her. In August, I was in a 5-car pileup and lost my new car and suffered a severe concussion. I was stuck with thousands in outstanding debt, a $600 per MO car payment, and no car to show for it. I began to work harder to try and make up the gap, only taking a single day off each month to get drunk with a friend, whom she was seeing at the time, and his girl at their place. Through all this time, I was watching our 3 years old and my 11 years old stepdaughter anytime Z wanted to sleep away. I was really lonely through this period, and felt increasingly isolated due to lockdown. Eventually Z figured out I was hooking up with her first open relationship boyfriend and his girlfriend in 3-way fun when I was drinking with them a couple nights a month, and she exploded. She said I was a deceiver and a cheater and a liar. I didn't realize this was against the rules as I didn't know all of her details, so I stopped hanging out with them, hoping this would appease her. She dumped him immediately. Then she brought home C. I tried to veto him. I knew this guy. I didn't trust this guy. It was none of my business according to Z, I had no say according to her. C was a friend of mine in high school. One night when we were around 19 or 20, he showed up at my parents' house with a broken nose and a black eye. His dad had beat it out of him, and we was leaving our hometown forever. I quit my job and dumped my girl that night. We hitchhiked to a major city together, and after 2 weeks, he abandoned me with nowhere to go when he got tired of living the homeless life. He just called his mom, and she bought him a bus ticket home. I spent nearly a year clawing my way off the street in a city where I knew no one, having to do some unsavory things for unsavory people just to stay fed. I regret that I had to rub shoulders with extremely bad people, and needed to leave town when I saw too much one night. By that time I had some savings and was able to get out of town. I came back home, and we avoided each other for nearly 20 years. Suddenly Z and C fell in love. She regularly bragged to me about his Johnson size and his cross-dressing skills. I try to be cool with everything and make friends again with C, letting him into my inner circle. He got close. I think during this time, someone was slipping me hormone blockers. I went through a gender crisis at 39 and lost myself. In October, C asks me to divorce Z so that she can have the baby they'd been discussing. I confronted her. He asked me to leave you. He made it sound like that's what you want. I won't be here if that's what you want. I'm going to ask that you choose me over him and stop seeing him. How dare you make me choose? Fine, I will choose for you. 30 days later, I got an apartment with a close friend and maintained contact with my 3-year-old. C moved into the house right away. I paid $2,000 a month through Christmas so as not to put undue financial strain on the people I love. Now I'm paying about $1,000 per MO in support, and see my 3-year-old 2x during the week, and she spends the night on Saturdays. She is using the family justice system to force more time, so she can have more free time to be a grown-up. I don't understand how she can feel entitled to anything more at this point. Over Christmas I had to avoid my kids because I thought I was going to be dead by the new year, and I didn't want them to feel like my sadness had to do with them. Honestly, I feel really undesirable, and a complete lack of options for new friends or partners is not helping at all. Dating apps are not really working for me. I've been on all of them, and I'm by so literally all of them, the fact that someone like her is worthy of love from many people, and I am not from even one, is really ducking with me. If I'm not worthy of affection, love, and respect at 40, I don't feel like I'm going to ever get there. What's life at this age worth without that? Update. To clarify for whoever you're becking, I asked what daycares you checked out for our daughter, and you scowled at me and gave a vague answer akin to ones with programs instead of literally any details. I was not rude. My exact words were, "That's not an answer to the question I asked. See you later." You are required to communicate with me about my kid when I request details. I have a right to know what's happening in her life, and I shouldn't have to decipher it from what she tells me. She's 4. Stop trying to twist this after the fact to look like I'm the one who's being unreasonable. I will not have you continue to paint me as the bad guy here. In case you forgot, or have convinced yourself that you were in any way not to blame for the current state of our marriage, allow me to recount the events leading up to our separation. You suggested opening our marriage. You agreed to the rules we set out. You're the one who decided I shouldn't have any input on who you ducked while you were married to me, despite that being the agreement, yet you punished my exercise of the same freedom. You're the one who didn't use protection with anyone else despite that being the agreement, yet you decided that you would use them with me. You're the one who wouldn't stop ducking around when I asked despite that being the agreement. You're the one who decided that your promises were not worth keeping. You're the one who consistently prioritized your duck buddies over your husband. You made all of the choices here, but the one to leave. That was me, and only when I couldn't take having my heart on anymore. I begged you to stop seeing him, in case you have forgotten. I understand that you're angry, but I still don't get the why. I told you that he asked me to step aside, and I asked you to prioritize your marriage, but you chose not to, even when I said I would leave. You don't get to be mad because you got what you both wanted. I sure as hell did not. I'm alone all the time, and I constantly have to hear third hand about the only person I have ever loved or trusted trash talking me. I'm not the one being rude here. I am not the selfish one here. I will not be subjected to these tantrums when you don't get exactly what you want exactly when you want it. You can avoid this kind of response in future by telling me what's happening with my child when I ask, and cutting the gaslighting and reframing completely. Thanks.